Hi there, welcome to another Team Clueless Battle Report. We're playing at Paul's lovely new house today. He has got a table set up and he's got lovely new terrain. Look what he got for his birthday. It's a Forge World Manufactorum sector.
That's right, yeah.
Excellent. So, as usual, we have made up a special mission to use the new bit of terrain. So today we're playing a mission called Manufactorum Raid. So it's a reasonably basic mission to play. We're playing 1500 points, Orks versus Tyranids. There are objectives on the table which you can score at the end of each player turn. That player gains 1 victory point for each objective they control. There's one down here, one over there, one on this really cool bridge bit of scenery there, and one hiding down there. There are 2 special objectives at either end of the Manufactorum near the doors, so one there, one there. If you control one of those 2 objectives at the end of your player turn, then you score 1 victory point. If you control both of them, then you score 3 victory points, so you can kind of like gather a bit more if you manage to control the whole Manufactorum. Also, if you control either of those objectives, your unit rerolls 1s to hit in the shooting phase to represent you grabbing ammo out of the Manufactorum. The only other special rules to go with the Manufactorum are that if you're not kind of like trying to capture the points, you can shoot at the Manufactorum or close combat it if you wish and deal damage to it. It's AV14 and you can only deal damage to it through penetrating hits, and the damage doesn't do anything to actually hurt it particularly, but it does its structural damage points, which are some new thing I've invented just so you can add it to a table and roll on in a minute. At the end of each game turn, so after both players have had a turn, you roll 2d6 and add the number of victory points claimed from these 2 objectives during that game turn, so from both players, and the number of structural damage points the Manufactorum has taken. If your total is greater than 12, the Manufactorum has run out of resources and you can no longer claim points from the centre. So if somebody's trying to take it, you can attempt to damage it to stop them from gaining it later in the game. It's just a little mechanic to make the Manufactorum a bit more central to the mission. The only other way to gain victory points, we have a kind of Maelstrom kill point type mechanic. If you kill enemy units during your turn, during the shooting phase, you gain a victory point, and you gain 2 victory points if you manage to kill 3 units during the shooting phase. You can gain a victory point by killing them in the assault phase, and again you can gain 2 victory points if you kill 3 units, and similarly in the psychic phase. So you can gain some points from kill points and some points from objectives on the table each turn. The standard secondary missions are in play. We've already rolled setup zones and such, so I am setting up on the far side of the table. Paul is setting up down here. Look at these cool futuristic walls we've got. Paul needs to get painting, don't you, Paul?
Yeah, I've got quite a lot of terrain to paint here.
Although I think these really cool buildings, they don't particularly need much paint. They still look really good as they are. Do you want to quickly demonstrate how the stacking system works?
Yeah, so this is a really cool piece of
really impressed by this.
So it's really modular. It's actually 3 different things. So you can either have like 3 different buildings.
So nice little different sized buildings. They've all got doors in and such.
And they've all got these, you probably can't see from there, but they've all got these...
oh yes, they've all got the stairs.
Stairs that all line up. So when you stack them up together, then it makes a nice thing like that.
Yep.
And then the really cool thing, well, one of the really cool things...
I think this is my favourite bit, even though it's the least gamey part. But it's
storage is, they all fit together like this, so they don't take up very much space when you're stacking them. When you're storing them away, they only take up the same size.
How awesome is that building? I love it.
So that's pretty cool. And the bridge is from the same company, it's Bandua War Games.
Yeah, it's all kind of like hardboard, or what's it called? MDF, so it's all laser cut MDF. So, but it's really solid. I was really surprised at how you can see how thick the MDF is, and it doesn't feel at all flexible or anything. It's proper solid stuff. Yeah. Really good. So, highly recommend that. Anything else to do with the mission or the game? Have we rolled to go first yet? I don't think we rolled to see who goes first. Did we? No, we didn't roll that.
Oh, we just rolled for table edge.
Yeah. Look at him trying to sneak that in. You'll see who goes first when we do our setup video. Okay. Today I am bringing Orks, 1500 points. My army looks pretty big compared to Paul's, but I'm pretty certain this is 1500 points. It just seems so huge.
Tell me if he's wrong in the comment section below.
He may get a free win if my spreadsheet has calculated it wrong. So to start off with, I'm playing with 2 standard Force All charts today, so I'm doubling up. So I have 2 units of troops over here. They are basic 10 boy squads in trucks. There's no knob, no power claw, and not 12 boys. They're as cheap as I can make them, but they do have shooters, so they're just going to ride around in their trucks shooting stuff, and then when the trucks blow up, they're going to run off the board, no doubt. Then I have a nice unit that I've kind of copied from Resius over at Frontline Gaming, who we thank for our lovely table mats. He was running this at the latest Adepticon tournament, and I thought, yeah, that sounds like a fun unit, so I'll give it a try. So we have 15 looters in one big blob, and then you take a war boss in mega armor, and he gets slow and purposeful, which confers to the unit, so you can wander them around with their heavy weapon shooting stuff. He's also got the lucky stick, meaning he can re-roll saves. We follow the rules from the LVO, where if you re-roll a save, you only get to re-roll it on a 4+. So he's not quite as busted as a 2-up re-rollable, but still pretty good. Other troops, we have one unit of Gretchen, just 10 strong, cheap as I can make it. And then over here, our last troop is 30 boys. So HQ-wise, reason I've taken multiple detachments so I can get more HQs, we have the aforementioned Warboss in Mega Armor. We have a big mech with custom force field on a bike. He's got a big chopper, and I think he's got a boss pole as well. And we have Mad Doc Grotznik, mainly for his fearless and feel no pain he converts to the blob. We have a load of big guns, filling out various heavy support choices. We have one of the Skyfire one, which is called a tractor cannon, with 2 very old school Gretchen manning it. And then over here we have 4 cobbled together cannons with their Gretchen crew. I think 3 of these ones have ammo runts, and that one has an ammo runt. We have a Death Dread, mainly because I love the model. He's got 2 custom Mega Blasters built on, and he has Grot Riggers, and I think that's about it for him. We have a squad of 8 bikers, led by a knob with a power claw, and that is the army. See, it didn't actually seem that big when I was going through it there. Let's see what Paul's bought. Here's a hint. He's got Gene Stealers.
Okay, so here's the army I've brought up against all of those orcs. I tried to think about what kind of Tyranids might be useful to fight for, or flavourful to fight in a ruined city, and I thought, yes, lots of Gene Stealers sounds about right. So my army is dominated by 4 units, which each consist of 9 Gene Stealers and a Brood Lord. I've given the Brood Lord Scything Talons just to make him a bit more killer. So that's 4 lots of the horror each round.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to the horror.
Hopefully keep those orcs on their knees and snap firing. For my headquarters, I've got 2 headquarters. Concession to power level, I do have a Flying Hive Tyrant with Quad Devourers.
Jeez!
Well, I've taken 40 G's.
Yeah, so. I'll let you off.
So he has also picked up the horror as well for the 5th horror per round, and he's got Warp Blast power and Dominion. He's my Warlord, and he's got an extra 6 inches on his synapse range already, so that's quite a big synapse bubble. And he is joined by the Death Leaper, who is worrying the mind of Mike's War Boss in an attempt to make those horrors a little more effective. And then rounding out the army, I've got 2 units of heavy support. Just 2 unupgraded Trigons brings the army up to 1,500 points.
Just a quick note on Warlord traits, because I forgot to say what I got. I got the Thinking Cap on my Warlord, which is this guy. Paul can quickly point at him. This guy here is the Warlord. He has the Thinking Cap, which has given me -1 to Paul's reserve rolls, which is quite nice. And I rolled on the Orky trait, and he can re-roll a failed armour save or invulnerable save every turn.
And while I'm showing off my new house and new stuff,
oh yeah, show the cabinets.
I got a cool miniatures display cabinet, which is something I've always wanted. I think it's really going to help me with motivation for my painting to be able to show off the models. And I've got the LEDs in there as well. So there's my Space Marines on the top shelf.
They look well awesome in there.
And I've got some Eldar on the second shelf, led by the Avatar there. And then all the Tyranids I'm not currently using are on the bottom shelf. So pretty happy about that as well. Okay, round 1 will be coming up shortly. So
a quick look at our setup. I have won the role to choose who goes to deploy first, so I've deployed first. We've got a truck down here. All my bikers are hiding underneath the inactive Sky Shield landing pad. We haven't bought that, either of us. On top I have my cannons. We have the Warboss and Looter squad. Giant squad of boys there with a tractor cannon on top of a dilapidated bastion. A dreadnought hiding in a forest, and the other truck at the end there. Paul has deployed some Gene Stealers infiltrating there. Some more Gene Stealers of excellent camouflage infiltrating there. Some more Gene Stealers are infiltrating inside that building there. And the Hive Tyrant is hiding at the back over there. Paul has in reserve what?
I've got 1 more unit of Gene Stealers who are outflanking. And I've got the Death Leaper and 2 Trigons in Deep Strike reserve.
Now, I have my Gretchen in reserve. Would you like to try and steal the initiative, Paul?
I guess so. So which one? Here?
Yep, sounds good.
Hey!
And he has stolen the initiative.
Not as bad as it might well otherwise.
Evil Tyranids. This guy is going to be in the air before I can try and kill him. That's annoying. Okay, let's see what we do turn 1.
Okay, so after seeing the initiative, the Tyranids moved into battle. The Hive Tyrant, probably rather foolishly, I always waste my Hive Tyrant, zoomed forwards and unleashed the horror on this unit of what are they called? Looters.
Looters.
The Warlord being chased down by the Death Leapers, giving him an additional -2 leadership, so -4 on leadership. But unfortunately, they're still up.
Yeah, leadership 5, I passed that.
The unit of Gene Stealers that was in here, the Broodlord just poked his head out and tried to cast the horror over here, but I think it was denied. Using the Orky power of ignoring what's happening to it. Then they ran back inside again during the shooting phase. This Broodlord ran up those steps, had a go at trying to pin this unit as well, and unfortunately the spell didn't work.
We will not be pinned.
And then this Broodlord also stuck his head around the corner to have a go at casting the horror on this big unit of Orc boys, but again the spell didn't work. I got 8 casting dice, and I put 2 into each horror, but unfortunately that only got me 2 successful castings of the horror. So I didn't manage to pin any of them. I was hoping to at least pin the Looters and hopefully pin the big boy mob as well. So that was not so great at all. The Hive Tyrant then shot at the biker boys who were under here. I've put 1 wound on the big mech at the front, and then the rest got lookout surge onto other bikes, and I destroyed 1 bike.
Yeah, I was pretty hot on my saves.
So at the end of turn 1, this Gene Stealer can control the Manufactorum at this end, and this Gene Stealer can control it at this end, and the Gene Stealers behind this building are controlling this objective. So it's 4 because I get an extra bonus point for controlling both Manufactorum objectives.
Orc turn 2. So the priority for me this turn was obviously that Hive Tyrant. If he got to fly to an angle where my war boss wasn't in front of the Looters, that probably my most expensive squad would just be blown apart by the twin-linked devourer. So we fired everything at him. The tractor cannon fired up, managed to get a wound on him. So if I failed to hurt him with the rest of my units, then he would have had to make a grounding check at -3. I then fired the Looters up at him. They only rolled 1 shot each. I got loads of wounds, but Paul was pretty good on his saves. I think I got another 1 or 2 wounds on him from those. And then the bikes fired up and the truck fired up, and I managed to get the last wound on him, so he was dead. So I got Warlord and First Blood out of that, so that's pretty special. Other than that, not much really happened. The cannons up here fired at the Gene Stealers over there because they're so tall, or the Broodlord is. I got quite a lot of hits on them, but the cover saves were pretty good. I think killed 1?
Killed 2. Yeah.
Killed 2 there, and I killed 1 over here with snap fire from the back of the truck. I score this objective and the 1 over there, along with First Blood and Slay the Warlord, meaning I am on 4, the same as Paul.
Okay, so the Tyranids turn 2. I managed to get half my reserves in, which is about average. So the Trigon wanted to come up over here, but accidentally came up over here. That was annoying because that meant that the Warlord, the War Boss, was still the closest model to the Trigon for shooting purposes. So he couldn't take shots at the Looters. So instead, what did he shoot at instead?
He shot at these, but only killed 1.
Yeah, only killed 1 because they had the feel no pain from their mad doc. He's getting ready to charge next round if he survives. The Death Leap was the other thing that came in. He has appeared behind these Gretchen, which he is trying to terrify before he charges in to try and take them out next round if he can survive their round of firing. The other Gene Stealers in outflank didn't come on, and the other Trigon is still in reserve. So without the Hive Tyrant, which I always waste, we're a bit behind. These Gene Stealers decided to try and avenge him, so they came out, attempted to horrify the Looters, but it didn't work, and then charged in against these boys on bikes, which I thought might be a reasonable fight. Unfortunately, the Broodlord was caught napping and didn't manage to take out the Knob in a challenge, and the rest of the Gene Stealers didn't fare much better against the boys. I lost the battle by 3. I think it was 2 wounds to me, 5 wounds to you.
Yeah, you wounded my Knob once,
yeah.
I wounded your Gene Stealer once.
But we managed to stay and stick around for a fight again on Mike's turn. Over here, this squad decided it couldn't try and take on 30 boys, that really would be too suicidal. So they are just sniping with their horror power. We did manage to pin the looters, but unfortunately with their mob rule, that just resulted in one of the looters making an untimely demise at the fate of the war boss, and they're still up. And then over here, these Gene Stealers dashed out and attempted to take down the Death Dread, which I thought that probably would be okay. It was a very close run thing. I managed to do 3 rending hits on it, but only 2 of those rending hits were converted to any hull points. So it took 2 of its 3 hull points, and then lashed out and killed 2 of the Gene Stealers in return. So that was a tied combat. All in all, not very inspiring. I'm controlling just the one objective again over on the Manufactorum over there. So that brings my score up to 5 to Mike's 4 at the end of my second turn.
Orks' turn 3? 2. Okay, so this turn, what do we do? So Trigon was in the centre of the board. My war boss, not my warlord, my war boss, strode up to him with his squad of looters and opened fire. I got 2 shots per looter, and I think I managed to put 3 wounds on him.
That's right, yeah.
Including some pistol slugger shots from this squad here. This squad has moved up here to claim this objective because it's a rejected game in the end. Over here, these boys disembarked and made some good move through cover rolls and got on top of this objective here, and then the truck slammed it into reverse and turbo boosted over to this objective. Similarly over here, this truck sped round the corner, ignoring the combat there, relying on the biker boys to have to deal with some puny Gene Stealers, and they have charged onto this objective. The Gene Stealers Gene Stealers who are in combat with the bikers, they're obviously bit up far more than they can chew. Somehow my knob has managed to kill a Gene Stealer, what's his name? He's a Broodlord in close combat, and only lost 1 wound for the show of it, so that was pretty special. And then the rest of the squad went through the Gene Stealers who could not rend the side of a barn door. Up here I fired all my artillery back at Death Leaper, didn't do anything. And I fired that piece of artillery at Death Leaper, didn't do anything either. So Death Leaper's going to eat all the artillery on his turn, although knowing Paul's rolls, he's going to somehow fail the charge. Over here, these Gene Stealers, the Broodlord happily ate through the Dreadnought, so he's out of there, so that scored Paul a point for killing something in close combat. But I killed 2 things in close combat, so that's still only 1 point. You need to kill 3 in one phase to take it up to 2 victory points. But I did score 5 objectives. I've got this objective here, this one over here, this one here, this one over here, and this one over here. So that's pretty nice. So I am on 10 points. Paul is on 6 points. Over to Paul. His reserves are coming in.
Tyranid, turn 3. So I got the remaining reserves on, which was pretty cool because I was a bit worried that wouldn't happen with the big mechs, whatever he's got, pointy hat. These Gene Stealers came on over here, and I finally managed to get the horror to actually pin something. I thought the pinning was going to be amazing in this game, but
I've forgotten that the what's it called table.
So we've pinned them, so they should be nice juicy morsels next turn. The Gene Stealers that took out the Dreadnought continued their vehicle rampage and went over and attacked this buggy. Truck, sorry. Unfortunately, the truck was open topped, so it exploded and killed 3 of my Gene Stealers. I've only got 3 Gene Stealers and the Broodlord left over there, which should be relatively easy pickings for 30 boys. Over here, second Trigon erupted out from the earth. This time he came up on the right side of the looters and managed to kill 2 of them or 3 of them.
2 of them, and I'd killed 2 myself with squabbling because you tried to pin me again.
Oh yeah, this Broodlord over here got Perils of the Warp and then went supernova instead. So I really wish I'd just bundled him forward and tried to get him into a fight. But I didn't know I was going to do that. Instead, we managed to get another pinning over here, which it's my
although I'm now below the magic 10, so I'm far more susceptible to the pinning and other leadership tests.
Fear and things like that. Up here, the Broodlord, the Death Leaper did manage to outmatch some unarmed Gretchen, so that was one thing at least. So at the end of this turn, this plucky Gene Stealer continues to score me a point around. He's done really well this game. Hasn't hurt anyone, but he's scored me the most points. And these Gene Stealers managed to get onto this objective over here. So some kills in my assault phase and 2 more objectives gives me 3 more points. I'm up to 9, but Mike's ahead on 10 and it's his turn next.
End of Orc turn 3. So this turn, the truck that was on this objective sped over there to claim that objective and to put some fire up on Death Leaper. The fire did nothing, unfortunately. Down here, the bikes moved over here to claim this objective and to try and get some shots on the Gene Stealers. And cunningly in my positioning, I tried to get more shots on Gene Stealers and ended up not leaving myself in 3 inch objectives. That was a bit of a mistake on my part on positioning. Over here, the War Boss and the Looters decided to take another Trigon. Why not? So they moved over and charged in. The Trigon rolled 6 hits, 6 wounds, and wiped out all but one of the Looters. I'd managed to deal it 2 wounds in my shooting phase, so that left the War Boss to deal 4 wounds to a Trigon. I'd failed my fear check, so I was weapon skill 1, so I needed 5s to hit. Of his 4 attacks, only hit twice, but the lucky stick came into play. I decided to re-roll 2 of them, got 2 hits surprisingly out of them, and then did 3 wounds. So I re-rolled one of the failed wounds, I got another wound out of it, gotta love the lucky stick, and wiped out a Trigon. That gave me a victory point for killing something in the assault phase.
And you meant I didn't have a Trigon.
And also remove the Trigon, which is a pretty powerful thing, because he would have gone through the War Boss next turn, as I have no invulnerable save. Up here, this trap cannon did nothing, you'll be shocked to know. The 30 boys, I positioned more or less all of them so they could bolt pistol all Gene Stealers, and I thought that would probably be enough. But I didn't roll a huge amount of wounds, and Paul managed to make the saves on the armour of the Broodlord, and he's a bit too far away to attempt the charge, and to be honest, I prefer to be on that objective than that one. So I left him there so I didn't get that victory point. The boys over there were pinned, so they couldn't move and get any shots on the Gene Stealers below who are contesting that objective with them. So I've only scored that objective and this one back here, plus the point for killing a Trigon in combat. And I cunningly avoided Paul gaining victory points for killing those 2 models as well. So at the end of turn 3, it is 13 plays 9, and the Manufactorum is still producing victory points.
Tyranid, turn 4. So no more things to come in now. These Gene Stealers moved up onto the platform behind the Manufactorum, giving chase to this cowardly War Boss who seems to be trying to move off towards his own safety, his own zone. Death Leaper has leapt deathly down from where he was, and he's coming after this truck to try and get it off that objective. Isn't there yet. I've got this one solitary Broodlord over here who's really in no position to attack 30 guys. I don't really know what to do with him, so he's ended up staying put and staying on that objective, scoring me a point. And then over here, we managed to terrify using the horror power the Orks that were up on the top of here, then scaled up the walls and butchered them all. So I killed some units in the assault phase, getting me a point, and then I control this objective, and the objective over on the Manufactorum for another 3 points, giving me bring me up to 13. So at the end of my turn 4, it's 13 apiece.
End of Orc turn 4. So the Orc boys in this truck down here, the truck stayed put scoring the objective. The Orc boys saw this shimmering form of a lictor stride out of the ruins of a Sky Shield landing pad. So they hopped out, fired their guns at it, and then charged in, thinking this will be easy. He cut 5 of them down to size. I dealt him 2 wounds back. And then I managed to roll a 1 on the... I can't remember what that damn table was called. The Orc...
Cramping table.
The Orc leadership table thing. So I actually stayed in combat, which is quite nice. I definitely didn't just cut us all down. Up here, the War Boss and his remaining looter, plus the bikes, all charged in on the Gene Stealers up there. It was a bit touch and go. My Warlord Big Mech is on 1 wound, and he failed a dangerous terrain roll, then failed his armour save. But luckily my Warlord trait lets me re-roll 1 armour save turn, and that saved him, which would have given Paul an extra couple of points. So that was quite nice. We managed to go straight through the Gene Stealer squad. The War Boss challenged the Broodlord, who failed, as usual, to do any rends to me. And then I did 5 hits, 5 wounds with the War Boss and slaughtered the whole squad. Anyone who's playing Orcs and isn't taking the lucky stick on a Mega Armor War Boss, you should try that. It's really good. Down here, the 30-strong mob of boys managed to take out a Broodlord. Shocker. I lost 2 in return, though. And that was my turn, so I scored 1 victory point for killing 1 unit in the close combat phase. I didn't kill anything in the shooting phase. Objective-wise, I have 1 here. Unfortunately, going to kill that Broodlord took me off this objective, so I can't gain the bonus one. So I got 1 victory point for down there, 1 for up there, 1 for over there. So the scores on the doors are...
17 to you and 14 to me.
17-14, but Paul is running low on units. Let's see what he does.
Tyranid turn 5, I decided we might as well finish this. So my unit of 10 Gene Stealers charged down the hill here and ran straight into this mob of boys. The Broodlord did an excellent job. He called out Grotznik, and Grotznik accepted, and then we managed to get him exactly 3 wounds. I think I was pretty lucky there to get past his armour and his feel no pain. The fight with the Gene Stealers versus the rest of the mob obviously didn't go quite as well, but I've still got 3 Gene Stealers left, and we actually managed to win the combat by 2. Death Leaper,
Past my leadership.
yeah, past the leadership score. Death Leaper also won his combat by 2 against the Shooter Boys, but the table saved Mikey or another measure or another one.
Another one.
I just remember that Death Leaper could have hit and run down of their last turn, which is a bit annoying, but this is what happens when you've got a million special rules, you can't remember all of them at once. So I scored 1 more point for killing Grotznik. I don't now control any objectives because everyone's in melee. So the scores at the end of my turn 5 are 15 to me and 17 to Mike.
End of Orc turn 5 and end of the game. The Warboss charged in over here, challenged Death Leaper, who fumbled completely even though the Orc Warboss was scared of him, and then he squished him with his Power Claw, as you do. Over here, the mass numbers took out the Broodlord and his remaining Gene Stealers. And that is the end of the game. I think the scores on doors at the end were 21 plays 15. So, thoughts on the game, Paul?
Yeah, it was a good game. I managed to keep playing throughout, which I didn't think was going to happen.
Yep.
I thought I was going to get wiped out. I didn't play very well.
I think your army lacked shooting, which was its main issue.
Well, I just made up this kind of Gene Stealer thing.
Yeah.
So,
I quite like the Gene Stealers.
It was interesting.
The pinning wasn't quite as pivotal as I expected.
No.
I hadn't quite realised how useful the York table was actually
really
against the pinning.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good game. I'm very happy with how the terrain looks.
Yeah, it looks really nice. Loving these buildings, especially the bridge there.
Yeah.
And obviously the giant thing in the centre of the board. Needs to get painted for next time.
Yeah, that'll be my next thing is paint.
And I highly recommend to any orders out there, take this guy with the lucky sticks. It's amazing. He's just so reliable at doing everything. Whenever I can fail to hit, I'd re-roll a couple. With a Power Claw, you're always wounding on 2s of a re-roll. You've got 2 up armour save of a re-roll. It's just brilliant. Okay, thanks for watching, everybody.
See you next time.